Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life and business.
I'm your host, Patty Baranovsky-Schneider. Today I'm joined by Alex Kuhn, founder of Born to Lead. So welcome, Alex. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, Patty, just thank you so much. I know how much time and energy it goes into just simply doing a podcast. So please know how much I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And hopefully this is more about everybody listening than it is me. So very simply, I tell people my first job is I'm a dad of two. I am very much an avid athlete. Right now I'm in the golf and basically lifting weights. And of course, the thing I do from a professional perspective and the thing I truly love is I really have a desire to make sure that good people win in business. And obviously, it's a very vague word when I say good people win in business, but I think there's a lot of people that are, especially in my world, that they are the face of the business. They are the personal brands of the business. They are the people that are putting their blood, sweat, tears, and reputation out there. And it becomes so overwhelming, so challenging, exhausting, quite frankly, with all the things that you have to do. And as much as we kind of talk about all the different strategies, my whole approach, and it's been an approach I've worked with hundreds of clients over the years, started, sold a couple of businesses. We continue to support so many people that all of you know probably from social media. I believe in an inside-out approach. I truly believe that if you truly don't align the inside of who you really are, the energy, the passion, the culture, the mindset with a strategy that basically brings out the best of your talents, the best of your skills in a very simple, flowish way, I think it becomes very hard. And we all know business is very hard. So I'm happy to, Patty, just to be here and just give people insights, inspiration to make sure that they can continue to move forward with their journey.
Thanks. I love the story. And it is true. You have to, so many people, it's almost like you're putting on a face. Okay, I have to go to work and then I'm going to put on a face because I have to do this. You want to do something that you're passionate about and can actually bring out all that, energy that you have. So I agree 100%.
Thank you.
Now, you've mentored over 1,000 clients worldwide and helped them achieve incredible success. So what initially inspired you to focus on leadership and entrepreneurship? And how did you develop the successful DNA model?
Yeah, wow, that's always the deep question to start with. So, yeah, I tell people listen, I've got a chance to work with thousands of people on stage, one-on-one groups, everything that's gone through it. And I've been in this world for 13 years. And I tell people that there's actually really 3 layers, I believe, that actually really allows somebody to go through what we kind of see as a DNA model. At the core of everything, though, I believe that there is so much conversation about the word confidence, feeling good, feeling great. And I don't know any entrepreneur, any business leader that simply says every single day is a gem. And it doesn't mean they don't love it. It just means that sometimes they want the weekend to get here. That's whatever it is. So I do
kind of like how our conversation started a minute ago.
How we started, it's a Tuesday and ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, listen, the first thing you got to do is you got to show up. There's got to be a level of commitment. Because I do believe the level of commitment allows you to get through the learning stages, the implementation stages, to ultimately allow you to get to a stage of mastery with whatever skill and craft that you are trying to put out there. And obviously, everyone's going to go, yeah. But I say it from the bottom of my heart that to me, every client I've ever seen that's really done incredible work, they have literally stayed kind of true to the boring, true to the work, true to what it actually takes, the relationships, the thank yous, the kindness, sometimes just simply doing the things they don't want to do. I think in the end of the day, those are the people that ultimately stay around. But from a DNA perspective, I really believe everybody has a different leader inside of them. I believe everyone has a different leader that in a way that some are very great, inspiring, motivating. Some are really big visionaries. Some are architects. They can really put together the most amazing plans to put people in the right spaces. And then finally, there's those developers. They can just really hear people and they can really almost ask questions. You're like, I would have never thought of that. And they can bring out answers they would have never even imagined. And I think to me, at the end of the day, when you are the business, when you truly are the person, and all of us, let's go with transparency, if we're starting it, we are the business for a while, for a long while. I think it's really important to know that you got to know how you want to show up in the business and build the business around you. It's not selfish. It's not a egotistical thing. It's about allowing you to show up with as little friction as possible to do the work that you love. So to me, I always tell first people is don't fight who you are. Don't fight whether you believe it's the universe or God or genetics, however you feel. Just be you and trust that you can build something around that people will love to work with. People will soar to find you, and ultimately allows you to feel great about the work you do.
It's awesome too, because I know like dealing with some people, sometimes you need that outside perspective, because I have noticed like some people are really good at one thing and other people are phenomenal at something else. And that's where like you get a great team, because trying to do it all and be the jack of all trades, like you say, when you start out, that's kind of who you are. But it's good when you find that, momentum where you can get the people who are good at what they do, because, that's kind of where you really can grow and take a step back and say, oh my God, I love this, because it's not overwhelming for you.
Yes, very much. 100%.
Yeah. Now, you emphasize that people should align their talents with their business for authentic success. So can you share how this alignment plays a crucial role in helping leaders and entrepreneurs reach their full potential?
Yeah, I believe people are moved by leaders. And when we don't show up as a leader we were truly meant to be, it almost becomes impossible. I know that the statements of leaders are readers, leaders are doers, all those things are 100% true. So I want to give everybody here a little bit of a gold nugget that I find that I think you, and I know Patty, and I kind of spoke a little before, that I think is really important about them is if you are doing something that feels so hard for you to do, that person will feel it. And the reason why I talked about kind of those 4 zones, are you a motivator? Are you a visionary? Are you an actual developer of people? Are you an architect? It's amazing how we box leaders into, you've got to sound like this individual. We all hear it, right? Oh, you got to be a visionary. And there's some natural visionaries, I get it, but that's not everyone. I'm not. I'm a natural motivator. I'm a natural speaker. I'm a natural communicator. I'm a natural transformer. So that's my skill. So for years when I was building a consulting agency, just doing the work and tick, 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 it was a hard grind for me. And honestly, it wasn't my best work. What my best work is being able to get to sit down with amazing people like Patty, a great conversation, give some insights and values. And it's scary when you realize that the talent we have. And here's just that last little thing for every one of you. You might say, how do I know? What am I, Alex? How do I know? The easiest answer, and one of the first questions I'll ask is, what did people complain about you when you were a kid? Were you, I was loud, talkative, wanted to be the middle. Calm down, Alex, relax, don't talk. Or you are like my son, where all he wants to do is he wants to sit down and focus, and he wants to draw, he wants to put everything together. And I'm like, Lincoln, why don't you want to go outside and play with your friends? It's like, I'm hearing myself doing it. So remember that the things we naturally did as a kid give us the clues for what we naturally should be doing today.
Right. It's funny that you say that, because like I remember when I was a kid, I loved like artwork and just thinking outside the box. And I remember, God, way back when I had to do a project on Pope. I think back then it was like Pope John Paul II, and I was using eggshells for his hat. And it's funny, that's one of the things I'm passionate about now, is being creative on trying to like market people. So it is funny how good reminder. Yeah.
I even feel that from you, where I can just feel like it's like you just have this nice empathetic energy. Like I feel like it's pretty easy for you to show up and feel people.
Oh, I do. I totally. That's one thing I'm passionate about. And I always tell clients, like, it's not about you. It's about who you're servicing, whether it's, a customer, an investor or purchaser, whatever the case may be. It's about them. So you have to feel what they feel. What is it they need? And how, so yeah, great stuff.
Yeah.
Now tell us, your clients have generated over 50 million, and that's an incredible achievement. So what are some common traits you see in the entrepreneurs who reach 6, 7, or even 8 figures?
Oh man. When everyone asks me this question, I feel like I should have a standard answer. I do. And full transparency, I do. I mean, everyone loves to give free lead magnets or something free away. I always tell people my business is based on access. So basically the only thing I ever get paid for is just if you want to work with me in my group or one-on-one, everything else is free. So I do it all on Instagram. So a little shameless plug. But the reason I don't have the same answer every single time is I sense something very different every time in people. So there's a part of me that's very intuitive and wants to talk about the intuitive pieces as opposed to just okay, here's the step-by-step. But let me share 3 patterns I see a lot of times, okay? The first pattern I see a lot of times is that I mentioned, I'm not going to go too deep, but talent, just making sure that the business is really serving them. Team, technology, whatever it is, it's serving that talent. If they're a visionary, great. If they're a motivator, great. If they're a developer, great. Just making sure they continue to have the business serve that talent day in and day out. Number two is no matter how many products or programs they sell, they always leave it as a high capacity driven business. Most businesses I've ever worked with, especially that are service based, get too caught up in time to money. They just keep selling the same service. So every time they sell something, they lose something on the back end. Every one of us loves Amazon, or man, I say love it, but we do buy from it. But I don't see anybody in there. I always tell people, I've never even talked to anybody from Amazon, as funny as it sounds. So you got to understand that like you can build programs and products, both whether it's low ticket, high ticket, whatever it is, that you sell it and you get to keep running the business. That's a lot of the part where most people come in and it's like, I don't know how to do that, Alex. That's the part I most help with it. But I think the third thing, this is the funniest thing, and I know you would with the marketing background, everything you do, a lot of people get so caught up in all the things you do in marketing, but there's one thing I know people buy. They buy a great experience. Whether it's buying a car, it's a great experience. Let's talk about it. We all know about the car salesman, but let's be honest. We all know a car salesman that we had a great experience with, right? We all know that we've gone to that live event where it was a sales pitch, but then the other one was like the most incredible value. We all buy the thing that transforms us first before we put the dollar down. So my advice for everybody is build a business where you transform people before you ever even ask for a dollar.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I guess it's so hard for, people to kind of comprehend that, because everybody's about, like you say, time is money, time is money. I've got so many hours in a day. We just have to make this quota, blah, blah, blah. But, I always say quality and quantity. You can have and you never know. You have a great experience. You're going to recommend them to somebody else and whatnot. So, you have to kind of pick and choose your battles. But yeah, I agree 100%.
Well, and the thing too is like, everyone here is like, I think we all have this moment. It's like, oh, everyone wants to grow huge and big. I tell people all the time that like, listen, when we talk about like a lot of my most successful clients, they are 6 figures, right? It's great to hear the 7 figures. It's great to hear 8 figures, but I have so many clients, they are making good money. And they're sometimes like, truthfully, for everybody that's listening, those are some of my favorite clients. The clients that ultimately just want to make 9 figures or 10 figures, I love them to death. But the reality is that there is definitely some sort of grind that they want to put their world through. And I think there's something inside that they want to fill. But my clients that very simply hit a very comfortable level of living, maybe they're making 500,000 a year, 600,000 a year. They're working, 10 or 20 hours. What I find with a lot of them is that they tend to find inner peace. So the thing when you're trying to, everyone here is trying to grow money, just make sure it is truly a place of a lifestyle that really meets what you really want and allows you to ultimately get to that vision for yourself and for your loved ones. I think that's the big part.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I had this conversation recently with someone who, again, they just hear what everybody says. He just started a family, and you have to make money. You have to. And I said, but how many people do you know that are super wealthy and just not happy? So it's not all about that. You have to find what not everybody loves going to work, skipping every day, saying this is great, but you have to at least have some joy in what you're doing and feel fulfilled about it. And maybe you're not making 6 figures, but that's okay too. You kind of find that balance.
Yeah. It's a path. I know, and I say this a lot, that the fastest path to where you want to go is to be truly happy with where you are today. And I know even the first usually exercise we got to go with people is very simply, what do we need to change simply in your lifestyle that's going to make you happy right now? Because a lot of times, like, well, I want to take more vacations. Okay, maybe you don't have the money, but did you want to take a break this weekend? Did you want to take Fridays off? Did you want to do these types of things? So let's structure it so you can start feeling your lifestyle change first, because that's going to help you change the business side a lot faster than me just giving you some motivational speech.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could find that little happy medium for sure.
Always.
Yeah. Now, failure is often part of an entrepreneurial journey. So how do you help entrepreneurs overcome their setbacks and use them as fuel to move forward?
Yeah. The first thing I tell everybody is that and I mentioned this earlier, if you go into your business with a mindset of commitment. Now, when I say commitment, I don't mean simply I am going to go through this thick or thin. There's no such thing as consistency that doesn't require change. When people say like you got to stay consistent with posting, there's no point in posting the same type of thing week in and week out if it's not increasing your likes, increasing your engagement, increasing your clients. What it means though is like if you really know that's the path you want to go, to tweak with your post, tweak with your message, tweak with your stories, tweak all the things there every single day until you find the thing that works, to find that consistency and find that commitment. I tell people every time with the setbacks and ups and downs that I say this, and I'm not going to try to cry, Patty, so I'm going to do my best. I have been brought to my legs and knees because of how much pain and trauma and challenges I know I've personally faced, and I know my clients face. And anybody that's listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It could have been finances, it could have been relationship, it could have been your business, it could have been that lost sale, it could have been or it could be even worse. It could be death. It could be a lot of things that have nothing to do with it, but it just brought you to your knees. And we all have to understand that for as strong as we need to be, we also need to allow ourselves to be as weak as possible in the moments when it's necessary. So I ask everybody not to say that you have to be Superman. Just be yourself and let that season be where you are, and let it allow you to go and transform and grow to the place that you truly want to go next.
Very, very, very deep on that one, but good stuff. No, but I mean, it is true, Yeah, like you say, be real. You just, if that's what happened, okay, accept it. And it's funny. Like sometimes some of our most humble moments are when we grow so much, because it's kind of like if someone tells you, some people are perfectionists and don't tell me I did something wrong, blah blah blah. But I'm always that inquisitive, asking questions like, why do you do that? Why? But if you tell me, Patty, what you did was all right, but I would have totally did it this way. Okay, why? Now I'm like, wow, I spend more time saying, wow, I learned something new today. I think it's awesome. But being humble, you grow a lot from that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, when I think about your podcast here, right? I mean, like, I'm looking at this, I see the banner, right? At some point, Patty learned, hey, you know what? If they're watching me on a screen, it's like, maybe I should put my contact information so they can find it there, right? I mean, I think that's what's so, like, it's amazing how we get so caught up into the big changes that sometimes just those subtle tweaks make such a world of difference. And that's why, I mean, I know the world needs people like Patty too, to kind of help them see that.
But it's funny, you learn so much. Like I was representing one financial company and they deal with debt financing, blah, blah, blah. And I just happened to be going down the street and I see a sign, and I thought it was hysterical because it says, I see debt people, DEBT, debt people. And I'm like, oh my God, how creative was that? It's a take off that movie, Sixth Sense. But I'm like, oh my God, so now I'm doing social media. Of course, the financial company is like, Patty, seriously? But I'm like, switch it up a little bit. People are going to notice that. They're going to, but it's sometimes you just take little snippets from everywhere and, you try it. How bad could it be? Worst that'll happen is nobody acknowledges it. Wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't be the first time, yes. Oh yeah, like we all gone through that.
Now tell us, you successfully started and sold 2 businesses before focusing on your life's work at Born to Lead. So what were some of the biggest challenges you faced during these ventures, and how did they shape your leadership philosophy?
Yeah, I think the first thing I always tell people is that, I started and sold 2 businesses and very successful in that way. But I tell people that, like, even though successes have their moments of lessons inside of them. And so, some of the reasons I sold them there were not so much like I wanted the big exits. And in full transparency, I didn't do it perfectly business-wise to exit them, but they were very successful companies with the hundreds and hundreds of failures that surround them to kind of have those 2 that work. But I want to tell everybody there's 2 things I've learned about myself that I hope, whether you ever sell a business or not, or you just simply grow a business and stay in it, I found 2 things that I know are personal for me that might be personal for you. The first one is I can't do work that I don't feel aligned and passionate about. I think there's a lot of people that can do it. There's people that can show up, they can want to make a good living, they can get out of it. I didn't find that for myself. The first business was in a very different industry than I am today. I love the work, but I just didn't like talking about the subject as much. And it was in the health industry, if everyone's doing. So it's not that I don't want to see people healthy. It's just, I don't want that to be my life. I didn't want that to be my profession. But I did it because it was the opportunity. It made sense. So I did it. But the second thing I learned, and I know this seems like a very cliche thing, but I really believe there are certain people that simply need good people. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a person that's going to be attacking. I have a good heart. I will fight and defend people. Like, I'm more about fighting for the people, my clients, than I am, quite frankly, for myself. But I found that I don't have the desire to go into toxic places. Right. There are places I think we all know in business that I think are great. You can do great and you can truly do it there. But there's places that are toxic for you. Yeah. I found that's not for me. And so when I make decisions anymore, for as much as I want to talk about the opportunity of the business side, whether it's a program or the type of client, and I still make this mistake. I still got to ask myself, like, is this work I really love to do or want to do or I want to learn more about? And are these truly people that I want to commit to, even if it's for one session or 2 days or 10 days or a year? I just want to know if those are the right people I want to commit to, because every time we bring somebody in, it is a piece of energy, no matter how you look at it.
Right.
For me, that's what's the most important decisions. I continue to try to remind myself as I move forward.
Right. It's funny when minute you were saying that, I'm thinking like, same, like say lawyers can make phenomenal money, but I think about that all the time too. Like I watch Law and Order and I'm like, what about that person who's defending the people are guilty, but that's your job, and it's kind of like, I don't know if I can go home at night and put my head down on the pillow. So you have to find what you are passionate about. Some people are good with blocking that stuff out. Not my thing. But yeah, you find what you're passionate about and what you want to, what makes you feel good about what you're doing. So I agree. Surround yourself with people that you feel good about.
well, it's why I like you too, because I know you're quick to laugh. Like I can tell, you're quick to smile, you're quick to laugh. And sometimes it's just as simple as that. Like I can be serious, but I know sometimes it's like, hey, somebody wants to be serious 24/7. It just is not me. It's just not my type of energy flow. And there's times and places for that I get, but there's really, I think really there's so much nuance to it. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you say stuff like that, because like I could be silly too, but you always have to put that professional thing on. And I remember one time I had to go to an office and I had a little, sniffles and whatnot. And everybody's stressing, they're trying to do something. I remember the president of the company, we're in this huge room and he's talking, he's like, and how do you feel? And I just blurted out like with my hands, and it was just kind of like that. What? But then everybody chuckled and I was like, oh, that just, everybody was so stressed from it. I'm like, but you feel a little good right now, right? Let's continue now. Well, some people are like, Patty, that wasn't a place for it. I'm like, it took 2 seconds. Come on, they made me laugh.
my son right now, like when we're very much wrestling. He's 5 years old, so he wants to play football, get tackled and stuff. And
kick your butt.
Fortunately, sometimes I guess they get a little too rough and I drop him or something. And instead of him crying, he kind of laughs through the pain. I'm like, I don't know if it's a good thing. Like maybe there's a whole nerve dysregulation, but I think it's better to laugh. My mom always used to say that, like, you can solve anything with laughter.
For sure. That's what I said. Even if I can't find stuff funny, there's something funny on YouTube. I'm sure I could just get a quick release. Now tell us, the concept of people greater than profit. It's a central theme in your work. So how can entrepreneurs and business leaders foster a people first mindset while still driving substantial business growth?
Yeah, it's the simplest answer, but it's the hardest answer. And when we say a people first culture, a people first, team environment. And by the way, for those of you that might be solopreneurs listening to this, that understand your team is your clients too, right? If you look at your clients as simply, we have these terms like internal team and external team and, all those phrases, but I do understand that if you are truly working with clients, you have to think of them as your team, because they are the people that you're trying to get a result. They're the people you're trying to give a crap about. So, and these are the people that ultimately could refer you. They're going to help you build your reputation. So, and it doesn't mean to say that the customer is always right, but it's understanding that that's why it's so important to determine who you want on your team. So I think the first thing is, as weird as it sounds, it's not about just simply having a people first culture or how you foster it. The first thing is deciding what people are in and what people you can't have in. And being really clear on those lines, because if you don't, it doesn't matter. We're not here to transform team members. We're not here to, it's hard to change people, let alone should we really want to, they should want to change themselves. I think you have to know where your line is and be okay with that. It doesn't make it worse, right, or better, or wrong. It just simply is where you want to be. Then the second thing, and it's something that I know at one point, I like to be very vulnerable. Points where I come in, I want to do business, I want to talk about the things, strategies, next steps there. And there's been moments where I simply forgot to talk about them. Yeah. What do they want? What do they want to do? What does it look like? So people first culture is simply mean people. If they are in your team, they want a job, they want to get paid, but they really might want to have their weekends off. I know one of my team members, they love playing video games. Like they want to have that for the weekend. So ultimately all that type of stuff is that when we make the mistake though of not doing that, we have to be able to apologize for that and let them know that.
Yeah. It's amazing. You ever, years ago, like in the corporate world, it was always, the head honchos had the business meeting, everybody else, they don't even know your name. You're just there to do work and that's it. And as times were evolving and they would start incorporating other people, it was cool that, you were the low man on the totem pole, but you got to hear what's going on. But every now and then it'd be like, well, what do you think? And you're kind of like, me? Like, you really value what I think, but wow, it made me feel so good. But it's great from a business perspective to just, like you said, we're all part of a team. We have the same goal. We want to see the company succeed. And maybe I'm going to give you a view you didn't even think of, so it made and now it makes me want to work even harder because I'm like, they valued me. How cool was that? But it's a huge thing. And I think nowadays some companies are starting to evolve to that point, but I think some of them still have a long way to go yet. But
100%.
Listen, everyone, everybody matters. Now tell us, you've been featured on major outlets like Forbes, Entrepreneur, and BuzzFeed. So how does media exposure impacted your business? And what advice do you have for entrepreneurs looking to grow their personal brand through media?
Obviously, my world is a lot of people that are facing their business. So for me, it's a big question I get. And I tell people every time the same thing is that clients are not going to come in droves once you start doing PR. But clients will use it as a reference for how they buy from you. So for everybody that actually decides they want to understand how PR works, at least from my perspective, that I have done the mistake of trying to use PR as a marketing tool to grow my business. And it's never worked. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't PR outlets. Like, full transparency, I wasn't on Oprah's book list, so I can't sit there and say that there are definitely places for that. But for the majority of our PR strategy, we want to look at it from a place of how it's going to surround ourselves with the message that we're trying to deliver to our core audience and ultimately to the audience we are attracting. So please know that I look at PR as very simply as the icing on the cupcake. Sure, a cupcake is a cake, but you still need icing on it. And so just understand that, but it's not the cake itself. So please just make sure if anyone's doing PR things, and I tell people I have no preference. There are definitely things that you work hard to try to get interviewed for it. Of course, people ask you to get paid on shows. I've been very honest. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter which direction you go in terms of how you decide to get PR. That's just how the world of media and PR works. If you don't know it, there truly is that. But you do want to feel more grounded in what your business is. Like, PR is not going to help explode your business. PR is going to help take what you're doing good and help with hopefully shift it to another level of great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the whole media landscape's changed nowadays too. So it's not like what it used to be. But I always tell people, even if you just had a little mom and pop shop, media online, that's okay too. It's how you market the heck out of that and get it in front of the right people. And it might not mean much to you, but again, you're just showing the story. I mean, I could write a blog about you, and it's just circulating that so that people start seeing your name and seeing what you're about, check your website and say, oh, you know what, maybe I should talk to this guy. So it's like you say, it's an ingredient, but it's not the whole meal.
Yeah. They gotta like you first, right? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, my not really a big movie person, but of course I know we all have the people, the influencers, who we follow, et cetera, et cetera. And I would be shocked. Actually, my opinion would be is like, if you're following somebody and you keep watching them, it's either one of two reasons. Either you really, really, really love them and you like what they do, or you actually really, really don't like it and you want to have a way to, be mad. So,
it justifies it.
But just know that PR is going to probably exemplify that in person one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Now tell us, your SuccessDNA model. It's helped so many entrepreneurs reach 6 and 7 figures quickly. So can you give us a glimpse into what the model entails and how it sets entrepreneurs up for success?
Yeah. I look at this as there's 9 patterns that I look at. Okay. So, and the patterns have, and when I say patterns, you'll notice I don't use steps. And the reason why I don't use steps, and this is kind of a shift, and even before this, Patty, it's been a shift in kind of my thought process, is that there are different rules to how you decide to grow a business. If you decide to go simply a business, you have very different rules. If you decide to be an employee, there's different rules for there. But when you're trying to build a brand to basically grow what you're doing from a monetary perspective, there are different rules for there. So I use patterns because I see the same thing time and time again. Pattern number 1, what talent are you truly trying to put out on the planet? And are you really talented at it? The second, have you put it together in a way that creates lifetime value for the client and their friends and their peers? Number 3, have you created an experience so that people can basically get an experience that's so powerful and so transformative that ultimately they say it's the easiest yes in the world? The fourth is simply the operations. How do you build an operations that basically continues to demonstrate and exemplify that talent. Fifth, you ultimately build your suite of lifetime value. So ultimately, maybe start with 1 or 2 programs there, and you want to grow it. Do you need smaller offers, bigger offers, medium offers? Like, how does that all work systematically? The sixth is very simply leveraging that experience. So instead of a one-to-one sales call or a one-to-one experience there, maybe it's video sales letter, maybe it's a live event. The seventh is very simply, how do you actually create a core system, proprietary system that everybody else can own? Instead of you having to be in it, how can other people own it so that we can bring people on and make it easier to keep going? The eighth is very simply an acquisition strategy game, where you're, instead of you thinking about how I'm just going to grow the business, find new clients, you've already got that figured out. Can you buy competitors? Or do you want to get acquired? Like, are you thinking about those ways where you can actually kind of use your finances to leverage yourself into another space, another area? And then last, but certainly not least, I tell people is simply the empowerment stage. You got to know what you want to do.
Mhm.
Are you trying to get out of it? Are you trying to make more lifestyle? Are you trying to be more profit? Making decisions that are strategic on the asset of what you're trying to build. Those are the 9 things I find time and time again, that when I work with people, stages 1 through 3, you can get to 6 and 7 figures very quickly. The other ones are determining what you want from a lifestyle and freedom perspective.
Wow. I think it's great that you come from the outside looking in, because most people inside, they're so preoccupied with what they're doing. They don't even understand what it is they want. They just know, I have this job, it's doing great, I'm making money, awesome, let's just keep doing it. But you can help them, like, okay, you've gotten this far, but there's ways to make your life, you can continue that, taking a step back, however they do it. I mean, I think that's all. I can imagine how many people are like, oh my God, thank God I met you.
I try. But honestly, I'm also grateful I met them too, because I think there's something very, and I think I feel this in your work too, where everybody just wants, sometimes they just want the stuff.
Yeah.
Right. They just want the stuff. I always tell people, like, yeah, I just wanted an eraser to erase my whiteboard. I use my whiteboard all the time over here. And I want that. I get it. There's places like that. But when you're trying to work on a business, your health, if it's simply a self-transformative process, I mean, I don't know how you can't not want to work on the inside, but there are definitely people that do. So I always tell people, like, that's kind of like a red flag for me if I can actually work with them, because if they just simply want the stuff, I'm probably not the right choice for them.
Right. But even life changes, you might have started out this way, but now your family's growing. You want to have more time. Maybe you have an illness, maybe a family illness, whatever the case may be. You want to be in a position where you're prepared for all of that.
Right.
You can't just say money, money, money. That's just what I was told.
100%.
That's all cool. But now tell us, with such a large following in a successful leadership business, how do you maintain balance between work, family, and personal well-being? And what tips do you have for other entrepreneurs to find that balance?
I say that you have to escape weekly, retreat monthly, and abandon yearly. And it means, I say that all the time. And honestly, it's hard. It's hard. I got 2 little ones. I'm very multi-passionate. So something has to usually give up when you're kind of going through your days and days and weeks and weeks. There are definitely weeks I don't sleep as much, right? There's definitely weeks that maybe I only see the kids at night as opposed to the morning and night. There are weeks where I simply am not showing up at work, right? All the things aside, is I don't know who said this. I wish okay. So some of you may have read the book, Who Not How. One of the authors, named Dan Sullivan. He was somebody I worked in one of his programs. They did an exercise years ago, so I don't want to take credit for this. This is their exercise. They did an exercise years ago where they said, how long do you want to work for? Like, what age do you want to retire? And, you made up a number, whatever, 50, 60, whatever it was. Then they said, okay, with that work done, what would you do with your life? And you say, oh, I would do all these types of things, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, well, how much longer do you want to live? So, 80, 90, 100, whatever it was. And then they said, what if instead of you just deciding to wait till this, why don't you just simply incorporate it into your work environment right now? Incorporate that lifestyle that you think is going to happen after you're done work and into the lifestyle you want. And then ask yourself, does it matter if it takes you a year longer to get to where you want to go? Does it matter if it takes you another 2 years to get you where you want to go? It shifted for me, my mindset, from this idea that I wanted to be an Olympic swimmer. I'm a go. I left the house when I was 12, not because I hated my parents. I love my parents, but to the point where I was like, I have dreams, I have goals, I want to achieve everything in my life, to a state of, if it takes me an extra week, that's okay. I want to see my kids. I want to go golfing. I think at the end of the day, like, what's the point? What's the point if our day-to-day isn't as enjoyable as the destination? That to me has been a major shift for me. And that's how I continue to kind of stay less burnout, stay more fulfilled. Not all the time, but more often than not.
I mean, that's so true, though, because I just had this conversation with someone. I think like retirement is 65, and they say the average person is only living to 75 now. So it's kind of like you work and work and work and work and work. And then all these plans you had, well, at that point now, this hurts, that hurts, this, or, you're just not doing it. So yeah, live now. You can do both. It's just a matter of getting that mindset and figuring it out. I agree 100%. Yeah. And I'm sure your little kitties love you around.
I try to be around them there. My 2-year-old, funny side note, just for everyone, she's me. She is me. My son is more my wife. She is me. And so what that very simply means is that she has a way of getting under my son's skin. So my thing is now seeing, like, when we talk about, like, oh my gosh, I can see myself in it. It's like, oh, how do maybe I need to stop, like, pushing the buttons a little bit too. Maybe what you see yourself and your kids.
I know you can't make that time back. So yeah, it's good that you're around and get to, cherish it now. It's awesome. So I guess tell us lastly, what's the most important piece of advice you'd give to someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey and looking to build a business that's not only profitable, but also aligned with their values?
Yeah. I have 2 pieces of advice, actually. The first one is that if you are leaving and going into this entrepreneurial journey, you have to learn the rules very quickly. Like, you have to understand it is very Matrix-like. If anybody remembers the Matrix movie, it is a very different world. You're not paid for your time. You're not paid to show up. You're paid for a result. You're paid to solve problems. You're paid. I mean, you might have to show up more. You might have to show up less. It depends what you do, quite frankly. But ultimately, there is a different set of rules. There's also a different set of rules and skill sets that you have to understand. Like, you do not have to be the best in sales, but you have to be able to sell. It doesn't mean that you're going to always be the person that does it there, but at some level, you have to have certain skill sets, because even though you may not be the best salesperson, and maybe eventually you're going to have a sales team, you're going to have to sell to partners, investors. You got to sell things to your team, right? Ultimately, all these skill sets here have a holistic connotation and allow you to run a more fulfilling business. But the second thing, and this is the advice that I really hope everyone takes and doesn't run away from, but it's the most important thing, to remember yourself that when everything's all said and done, you're going to have done okay. Meaning you've done well, you've done your best. Just appreciate that part of you. And then sometimes we just don't give ourselves enough credit, and we need to do that way more, especially in this entrepreneurial world.
Oh, that is so nice. But it is true, because we're our I guess what is our worst judge. We just crucify ourselves all the time. It's like,
very much.
You just need someone to say, you did a good job.
That's all you want sometimes. Even for yourself, you're like, I'm okay.
I know. It's always like, I closed only 9 out of 10. I should have had that 10, but you did 9. How awesome was that? So yeah, you could find a way, but sometimes you just need that little reminder. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Now, anything else you want to add that we didn't touch on yet?
I don't know if there's something I want to add. I just, I always like to say, first off, thanks, Patty, for just simply the work that you do, because, I see you do graphic design and marketing, and, every business says I need marketing, I need graphic design. And I say this to everybody, it's very, having built a marketing agency before and having been in that space for a long time, it's a very easy business to get into, if you will. But it's a very hard business to stay in. And I know, Patty, you've been in here doing this for a long time at work. And so the work that it is, so I give you a lot of credit for doing that. And that's the first thing. And with that, kind of with everybody that's listening, I want you to know that, like, everything is both easy and hard. There's nothing that's easier than somebody else, and there's nothing that's harder than somebody else. It's just simply showing up and committing to doing there. So, for me, obviously, if you ever want to follow my world, I'm on Instagram. You can just type my name, Alex Kuhn. I should be one of the first people that pops up there. That's where a lot of my free stuff comes. That's where I do a lot of my inspo. I tell everybody I'm not a microwave dish. I very much like to put something brand new out there. Something that's popping up in my world. I'm pretty consistent. But my world will know three things very quickly about me. I will talk about how you kind of stay true to who you are. I will talk about, yes, making good money, whatever that looks like for you there. And ultimately, last and certainly, I think everybody is truly looking for more of a lifestyle-oriented approach, not just a business-oriented approach. And maybe this is the cockiest part you'll ever hear from me. I don't think anybody does it better on the planet than the team and I.
Nice. Well, your name is everywhere, and that speaks volume, because, it's always one of those things where it's like you were saying, like marketing, it's like, I've never heard of them, because there's usually a reason for it. So yeah, your name is everywhere, and that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Alex Kuhn. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.